I bought my first buy-to-let at 27. I didn't have an inheritance. I didn't have a six-figure job. Apparently all I had was determination and no life, because every possible penny I had was being put aside. So here's the thing. I had £30,000 in savings, which I'd built up. I was doing my research online, but most of the content out there, it skips over this bit. It'll tell you buy-to-let's a great investment. Property will always go up. But nobody sits down and says, here's what property investing actually costs you, pound for pound, the money that you're going to need before a tenant even moves in. I'm Remy. I own 2 buy-to-lets with the aim to buy another 2 in 2026. On this channel, I document my journey, my wins, my mistakes, and my numbers. Today, we're going to be answering that question that I was Googling at 2 in the morning, 3 odd years ago. But is £30,000 enough to actually start? So, to give you a little bit of context, I'm about 3.5 hours from Liverpool. I just knew that was the area I wanted to invest in. So I spent a lot of time looking for properties and just did a ton of viewings over the course of a couple of days. I found this 2-bed terraced, which was up for £95,000. So I made an offer of £86,000. That offer got accepted. First of all, the deposit. This is where buying a house, it hurts. On buy-to-let, you're looking at a 25% deposit. You can do less, you can do more, but on average, it's 25%, and that is what I did. That's £21,500 gone, just like that. But stick around, because the deposit is only the beginning. The next few bits are the things that people tend to miss off. Next up, we've got stamp duty. On an £86,000 buy-to-let, £2,580, which is what I paid at the time. But of course, that was at the time. Likelihood is stamp duty rates are higher now than they were back then. We got solicitors' fees at about £1,200, mortgage broker about £400. The arrangement fee on the mortgage itself I added to the loan, but sometimes people might want to pay that up front. But what are we on now? About 25.5, 26,000. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll share with you a couple of freebies that I got with the property itself, which actually caused me hours and hours of, well, it wasn't pleasant. A couple of other costs you might want to consider. So accountant for your self-assessment, if it's your first one, I paid about £300. £463 was for landlord insurance, of course, another cost. Some places have selective licenses, so licenses to be a landlord, that was about £350 for me. And then the final one is in terms of all the costs to get that property ready to rent, and that involved even replacing a consumer unit, a big electrical cost to make sure that the property was compliant, alongside all the refurbishment bits and bobs that I wanted to do. They totaled about £2,200. So I'm on about £29,000. Sometimes you'll have surveys involved. Sometimes you are going to have other expenses. Sometimes some of those areas can be higher, some can be lower. But you can see how that can get eaten up very quickly. What I will say though is, yes, we've experienced inflation. Mortgage rates are higher, property prices are higher. But if you're going to ask me if it's still possible to buy under £30,000 now, then I'm going to answer that with, it depends entirely on where you're looking to buy. Let me show you what I mean. That was an £86,000 property in the north. If we were to compare that to, let's say, something a little bit more middle tier in the Midlands, £150,000 property, that's about £37,500 deposit already. Higher property price means stamp duty is about £8,000. And if you're in the South London, a property at £280,000, your deposit is 70 grand. Your stamp duty is £18,000. 30 grand doesn't even put a dent in it. I'm not saying that to put anyone off at all. It's just because if you've spent months and months looking at properties that you feel like you can't actually afford, it's just because you're looking in the wrong place. Now, a couple of big tips. I'm going to call this expect the unexpected, because this is something where if you're not ready, you could be facing £1,000, £2,000 out of absolutely nowhere without expecting it. First one, the empty month. So between completing on the property and getting a tenant in, of course, there is going to be a gap there. You're going to have no rent, but you're going to have your mortgage, your council tax, your utilities. But that could be £800, £1,000, depending on obviously what those costs are, just coming up out of nowhere. Number 2 is teething problems. You're going to be walking into a property that hasn't been lived in over a month, whether that's an issue with the boiler because it hasn't been used, whether that's an issue with water pressure, a water leak, whether you're going to find something isn't compliant in terms of the electrics, you're going to have to pay hundreds or thousands to get that replaced or rewired. Likelihood it's going to come up, and it's not something you want to push down the road either. To throw an example out there, the property I bought in Liverpool, the fence was a little bit worn, so I said to myself, I'll replace that in a year's time. 6 months later, we had a storm that actually finished off the fence and knocked it down. So I lost a lot more time, a little bit more money doing things that way, and obviously I had to pay for the convenience of getting it sorted as quick as I could. This would be a great time to share my freebies that I got with the property. So I walked in, huge sofa set that was just left there by the previous tenants, by the previous seller. So yeah, it's something, whereas my first buy to let at the time, so I wanted to save as much as possible, get the best opportunity I could out of it, like any of us would. So I screwed apart what I could on this sofa, wouldn't fit into the back of my car. So I spent about 8 hours sawing a sofa into 3 different sections through the course of the day and taking it to the tip. Alongside that, I was kindly provided with a fridge that lasted about 3 days for my tenants. So yeah, that was very quickly removed and replaced. Expect the unexpected. Final thing I'd say is take the amount of money that you think you need and add on 10%. There are so many different things that could go wrong that you just would never expect. And if not that, you need to be able to survive the gap between completing and getting a tenant in. You need enough for the survey that comes back with issues, for the electrical sort of thing that I had to replace that cost me £1,100 on its own. Like your mortgage lender might ask you to do a survey. I had a situation where they asked me to do a damp survey. The damp survey mentioned something about the roof, so they wanted a roof survey. I ended up spending about £600 on surveys. Of course, your letting agents are going to charge their own fees, or you're going to have to pay costs to get tenants into the property itself as well. So look, you could ask me, is £30,000 going to be enough for a buy-to-let? And I'd say, of course it would be. If you know about the other £6,000-7,000 that you might have to spend alongside that before a drop of rent actually enters your account. But do you know what? I know you could say that 3 years ago this was possible, now it's not. But right now, I'm looking to buy a flat for about £85,000. And it does show that these kinds of properties are out there. There is opportunity. And of course, if you hit subscribe to the channel, I'll be doing a tour. I'll be sharing the numbers on that and potentially showing you the refurbishment sort of journey from start to finish is the aim, which you won't want to miss. Honestly, with most of the changes coming into the rental market right now, the Renters' Rights Act, EPC changes, stamp duty going up, it does make buy-to-let harder. There's no point pretending anything else. But what I would say is, in a market where less landlords are buying and more people need somewhere to rent, the ones who go in with their eyes wide open, their numbers right, they're going to be in such a strong position. Is 30 grand enough in the right area, on the right property, with a buffer? Yes, it's tight, but it is possible because it's something that I have done and it's something I'm doing. If this was useful, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel out. Hit subscribe if you want to follow along with the journey. I'm documenting everything about building a buy-to-let portfolio in the UK. Over the next couple of months, I'll be sharing videos on my first refurbishment project, so showing you around, taking you from start to finish of this new project, and I'll be sharing some of the returns on investments on my properties in my portfolio, which you won't want to miss. But thank you so much for watching, really means a lot, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.